Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Inspired Action. The goal of this podcast is to not only leave you inspired in some shape or form, but more importantly, that you're left inspired to take some kind of action in your own life. Inspiration plus action are a very powerful combination. The Inspired Action podcast is brought to you by Stage Fright Management, which provides cost-effective social media solutions to grow your brand. Check them out at stagefrightmgmt.com. On this week's episode of the podcast, we have my good friend and mentor, Maree Eddings. Maree is an energy navigator and strategist, teacher, mentor, psychic, and medium. And she's the creator of the vibration mapping method. Topics of our conversation will include masculine and feminine energy and how to leverage your sensitivity for the better. Enjoy. And I think we're live, Maree.
Hello.
Yep, can hear you all good. So thanks a million for joining me, Maree, today on Inspired Action Podcast. You are a really good friend and mentor of mine, and I thought just the stuff that you're doing, like all your stuff, about energy, about, psychic, the medium and masculine and feminine energy. I just thought it would be really interesting to get you on and have a proper in-depth chat, especially after that weekend. I don't know about you, but it knocked me for six. Like I was never into the, Mercury retrograde, full moon, all of that bullshit. But every month I knew there was something that was like, I sound as if I'm on my period, but every month something, like whenever around the full moon, I just felt like that was just pulling my face off or something. It was, it really, really affected me. And especially when I'm like a hypersensitive kind of guy anyway, it's just, this whole last week I have been buckled basically. And I think that's probably a good starting point to discuss because you know all about it.
And when I got your SOS message saying, what is going on? I was like, well, there's actually something going on. So a couple of things I think probably a good place to start is we are right now in a really heightened energy space. So everybody is feeling the change in energy, and it feels really intense in our body for a number of reasons. Firstly, in 2018, this is the year of transition, and it's the year of new beginnings. And while we like to think that new beginnings are about, flower crowns and dancing naked under the moonlight and everything being fantastic, for us to go into a new beginning, we have to purge and destroy what came before. And so the energy that is happening right now is to help us get to that point. So we feel it more intensely, and we feel it because we need to get rid of it. So it's happening for us, not against us, is the first thing to remember. And to be really clear for people, I'm not a planetary expert. I'm a person who works with people's bodies, energy and vibration, and the impact that lots of things happen in our environment that we then feel in our bodies. So I work with energy sensitive people to help them navigate through what the hell is happening and what do I need to do about it to stay focused and move through my life the way I want to move through it, rather than feeling I'm at the mercy of other people, other people's energy and the energy of the cosmos.
Yeah,
so I think
it's funny. Yeah, it's funny. I was chatting to a friend of mine yesterday and he was asking how I was, and I says, I'm just going through the ringer at the minute. And he says, why? And I said, well, the full moon and this whole blood moon and Mercury retrograde, something to do with it. I says, it may sound woo-woo, but that's what's going on. And he was like, I was never into that stuff until I was walking my dog and down at the dog park, and all these dogs used to be really friendly, and then once a month they would just turn on each other. So he says, I believe it now, because it's like, that was quite funny.
Yeah, and right now from June to the next new moon in a couple of weeks, we've had this number of eclipses, which means everything, the basic version of all of this is everything is heightened. Everything that we have inside of us becomes more visible to us, and we feel it more intensely. And a lot of the times when we're sensitive to energy, we get told, bunker down, protect, wait till it goes away. But really what we need to think about is, what is it that it's here to show me, especially right now, because right now we have a Mars retrograde and we're in Mercury retrograde, which means basically the planets go back over old ground. So they go backwards, and that stirs up things from our past. It stirs up things from things we thought we dealt with, things from our childhood, things from old jobs, old relationships that we now need to look at to go, well, how did I actually deal with that then? And what do I need to do with it now? So Mars specifically brings up anger and frustration. So hands up who's had some anger and frustration in the last, month or so. Woohoo! Absolutely. And so we need to remember that it's here for us and it's not here against us. But it feels, how does it feel? It feels so intense, it doesn't feel like you can think straight.
No.
For you, the SOS text I got was, what is going on?
Like I know that I'm hypersensitive anyway, but people used to say, "Oh, you've got a gift. You're very empathetic." Blah blah blah. But I've worked out recently, like growing up and in an anxious, highly stressed household, despite if they knew or not, really had an effect on me. I think like I basically disconnected from myself, and I was so hypersensitive to other people. And I grew, I suppose, up with that and always put my attention on other people so much that I disconnected from myself. And it was only until recently that I discovered that was, where it came from. And it's completely understandable, like as a kid growing up in that sort of environment, that would happen. But sometimes then I think it's a curse as well as a blessing, because you feel everyone around you, and it's actually debilitating sometimes. Like I isolate myself a lot, and I don't, I can feel it, and I need to learn, I suppose. And what you've helped with a lot is helping me turn that into like a gift and seeing it from a different perspective.
Yeah, it's a really good point you make, Pete, because if you think about our parents' life and how they raised us, we didn't talk about this stuff at all. They probably were really sensitive as well, but they were brought up in a place and time where you didn't talk about it, you shut down your feelings and just got on with stuff. Whereas when we've come into this, we're here at this point in time in history for a reason. So the way that we feel things is really relevant to why we're here right now. And I understand why people say it's a curse. A lot of the rhetoric around energy sensitivity is, oh, you have a gift and it's a burden. So learn how to deal with that. Whereas really what we need to be doing now is working out what is the gift for and how do we work with it so that we can explore more of what we've got to give. Because if we don't, the impact is that we hide our gift, our sensitivity, we hide what we learn, we hide our insights because it feels so hard. So it's totally understandable. And the key is to realise that our sensitivity can only be our gift when we learn to work with our energy, because the two are not actually the same thing. Because another thing that we get confused is we think because we're sensitive that we automatically vibrate at a higher rate and therefore we don't have any work to do. I hear that from so many people that I run workshops and speak at events saying, well, I'm the sensitive one, so I don't have any work to do. It's all those negative people. They've got to fix their energy. And I think we've probably all heard that at some point.
I think I was in that group at one stage, pointing the finger.
And it's natural because that's what we've been taught today, that sensitivity and equals vibration, and it actually doesn't. It's energy equals vibration. And it's our energy, how we behave with our energy, that determines whether our energy is contracted or it's actually expanded. So let's just take for a second so people know what that means. So if you think about what contracted energy feels like, let's think about the person, because we all have one of these people in our life or have known somebody that blames a lot, that doesn't take responsibility, that is highly judgmental. And think about how that makes you feel when you're around them. Body starts to feel tighter, and it starts to feel like, in some way that our power has been taken away, because there's no conversation you can have with that person that is interactive. They shut everything down. So contracted energy, you feel all energy in your body, but contracted energy feels contracted in the body. So the measurement of energy is actually how you feel, and that's all you need to know. It's the feeling that it gives you. You know what it is. It's expanded or it's contracted. Whereas expanded energy, let's think about that for a second. Think about somebody who makes you smile when you just think about their name, or it could be a holiday you've been on or a situation you've been with. You just can't help but feel open and feel love towards them, whether you know it's love or not. That's
Maree,
Yeah, that's what energy feels like. It can't help but open you up. And so energy really can only do two things. It can only expand or it can contract. So just because we're sensitive doesn't mean that we don't have contracted energy. And so vibration has got to do with whether your energy is contracted or expanded. And so the call for energy sensitive people is to focus on expanding your energy, not contracting it, especially when these more intense times come around.
Yeah, totally. Definitely feeling it at the minute. And do you think it comes down to even actually disconnecting from yourself so much that you try to connect to everything outside of you? Does that happen?
Absolutely.
Because I think that's what happens to me.
I think, your point about growing up, that's exactly what we all did. We disconnected from our environments because they were too intense for us to deal with. And by enjoying disconnect with ourselves. And so when you were asked, I don't know, you were 17 or 21, what makes you happy and how do you want to live your life? You go, I don't know, because we weren't taught to connect to what we want and what we love and how we feel about that.
Yeah.
And so while it's really intense right now, I want everyone to know that it's like in 6 months' time, you're going to say, thank God I went through that intensity because now I've got rid of all of the stuff I no longer need and I can move forward and live in a different space than I've had before this.
Yeah. And just on the topic of the growing up with that type of energy, like in regards to, relationships, do you think as well that becomes, you keep attracting that type of energy again?
Mm-hmm.
I'm just asking for a friend. It just feels that familiarity, even though it's not what you want, becomes it's what you're familiar with, and you just roll with the punches. Does that happen?
You're spot on. So because energy is a feeling, we go to what feels familiar, even if it might fits into the category of abusive, unresourceful, shuts us down. We still go there because it feels, we know it. And the challenge is, even though we might also know about leaving that energy, it becomes a tug of war between what we know and what we feel we need to be loyal to and committed to versus what we really want to do for our own life now. So for energy sensitive people, committing to new relationships are challenging, but also letting go of old unresourceful relationships is also very challenging because we get wound up. Think about energies, it gets wound up together and it has like a physicality to it. So you might be around a friend, let's just talk about friends, that deep down you really don't have much in common with them. You make yourself small or you quieten yourself down when you're around them just to get on with them, but because you've known them for so many years and deep down they're a good bloke or they're a good woman. But really, you don't have much in common with them anymore.
Yeah.
The only person that actually hinders is you. And then if you extrapolate that out to more important relationships like your family or ex-partners, that's even harder for us to do. A, it's familiar. B, because we think that we owe them something.
Yeah.
So if we leave, we're doing the wrong thing.
Yeah, and you become and then your compassionate side kicks in because you can see, why it happens or stuff, and then you hold on maybe even more, and it's a recipe for disaster long term. And other thing, so that leads me then to the belief sometimes that you can't trust your thoughts or your feelings because even though that you think and feel that everything's right, it turns out to be wrong because of that disconnection. Is that the way it works?
So when we get focused on the sensitivity of our energy, absolutely, because as you know, the last week, your sensitivity goes up and down and it can be impacted and pulled around by lots of different things. When we understand how energy behaves, and to your point, the compassionate side kicks in, but it can kick in at that, oh, they're not that bad. Oh, it's not that hard. And we placate our own self But when we understand how energy maps and we say, well, contracted energy behaves or always behaves in a certain way, the decision is, do I want to be around that contracted energy? So we take out the, am I a bad person conversation, and we start to discern energy through expansion and contraction. And we have to start to make some calls for ourselves that say, well, what do I really want? Because I can continue in these relationships. And I clearly have some beliefs that lead me to those relationships, both professionally and personally. But is that really what I want? And so we need to take the time to sit back and go, well, how do I access that expanded state for longer periods of time so I can also now have the beliefs that will attract professional, personal relationships that match that? Because as you know, our energy matches at the level that we're at.
Yeah. Yeah, your energy will change, and either they step up to match it or they step out, basically.
So contracted energy... No, sorry,
go ahead.
So contracted
energy... I read a really...
Yeah. And so when you expand your energy, you're no longer connected to that contracted energy.
Yeah.
So it is about
and I read
energetically from them.
Yeah. I read a really good book recently that was recommended a few months back called Boundaries. And I suppose growing up in a family that you didn't learn any or were taught any, it's really enlightening book to go, okay, like you can, just what you spoke about there is like, what do you want? Is okay, what do you actually want and what do you need, in a sense, rather than just going for that familiar type of energy and not getting either.
And also
so having that as a checklist.
Absolutely. And so boundaries is one of the ways that we identify that we are not where we really want to be. So when we start to compromise our needs, then we know we've got a boundary condition that we're prepared to actually have broken.
Yeah.
And energetically, people know that. So no one walks around with a list of their boundaries going, well, here are my boundaries. And if you break them, I'm out. We actually know how you are by how you feel and what you're prepared to put up with. And so boundaries are a way that we say, here are my conditions to get my own needs met.
Yeah.
And sometimes we don't know what they are.
Yeah. Like I started off with a list. You said no one walks around with a list, but I actually wrote a list because I'd never ever actually sat down and looked at it. Because I was just connected to this familiar energy, which definitely wasn't working.
And to your point, you need to become aware of them. So what are you prepared to put up with? And, you know, what we tolerate, when we look at that and we work out what we're tolerating in our life, you can be really surprised at, you know, what we're really dealing with. I think about
our own worst enemy. Like it comes back to us. Ultimately, it's no one else's fault.
And it's about awareness, and it's not our fault either. So there's no one to blame here. It's more about creating awareness around what's really going on. I mean, I had a situation where I live here, and the fire, like the smoke alarms started going off at night. And because I'm sort of new to the area and I wasn't quite sure what was going on, I allowed those fire alarms to go off for 5 hours. I tolerated that noise and that inconvenience of no sleep was during the night for 5 hours because I couldn't reach the smoke alarm and I didn't have a ladder, but there was actually a way I could have worked out to turn them off. But there's something inside me that went, I'm okay, I can deal with that, I'm strong enough. And I'll get someone to fix it when it's daylight. I'll go to my neighbour's house at 7 o'clock and he has a ladder. We tolerate more than we need to, and we're not quite, and I know that's a silly example, but we tolerate things because we say, I'm strong enough, I can deal with it.
Yeah, I totally get it. Like it's people say to you, oh, if you're like so solid in yourself, then, no one else's behavior should affect you. But that's, yes, that's true to an extent, but at the end of the day, if their behavior is unacceptable in the general scheme of things, it's like it doesn't matter if you're solid or not. It's just you just don't want to be around that person.
No, and it's really got nothing to do with solid. It has got a lot to do with being aware of self and really
Yeah.
aware of how your energy works, because energy behaves really consistently. So part of where I've come from is, I had a corporate career and worked in a really intense environment, both physically and mentally. And I realised that it wasn't for me. My body started to break down. And I realised that I was physically quite broken, but I was also emotionally and spiritually really broken as well. It wasn't an alignment of my values. It wasn't really what I wanted to do, but I was good at it. And so, you get raised to say, if you're good at something, go with your strengths. But it doesn't take into consideration what you really want to connect to and what you really want to experience now. So that was what led me onto the path to say, I need to learn more and I need to get out of this environment, which led me to the world of energy. And during that process, we coached singles around, masculine, feminine energy, and we connected couples and did work with businesses. And then I was led to work with my hands and become a hands-on healer for the very specific reason for me to experience what energy felt like in somebody's body. Because the body processes the energy. We are still physical beings, even though we want to go into our spiritual realms, which they're beautiful, and we are all spiritual beings, but we are having a physical human experience. And the experience that we feel in our body is that experience. So when I was led to do the healing on people's bodies, I now could make sense of what I was feeling when I was, next to somebody. I've always been able to feel what was happening in somebody's body, whether they were blocked, why their throat chakra was closed up. But I didn't have any rhyme or reason about why. So when I became healing hands-on people, it was like, oh, this is what happens. This is how the chakras work. This is what they hold. And in every single case of the hundreds of people I've put my hands on, energy works exactly the same way. So that's why it's our energy that we need to focus on, not our sensitivity. Sensitivity is how we feel it. Our energy is how we manage and how we expand it or contract. That's the bit we have control over all the time.
Yeah. So how do you actually take the steps to do that? If the people watching was like, okay, so let's look at taking control of your energy, and they say that highest energy wins. How can you actually be conscious and become aware of actually stepping that, I suppose, your energy levels up and knowing that is the right thing that you're doing? Because it's very confusing. I think people are so much, in their head, which I can testify to, and not in your body. So how would you go about that? Is there a step or a process, Maree?
Well, that's a really good point. So energy is about feeling, and it's all about your body. So it is about getting into your body and becoming really aware about how it feels. And when I work with my clients, we'll have a bit of a play and say, well, what's it like when you're around that person? And they go, oh, my body feels like this. And what's it like when you're around that person? Or when you go to a festival and there's 30,000 people. So becoming aware of what your body is doing is the number one thing that you have to do. You must be aware that your body moves for you, but we're not paying attention. Yeah. And when we don't pay attention, it gets stronger and stronger and stronger until you feel like you're being hit on the head with a 4x2. Seriously, your body will go, no, you're not going forward anymore. You need to stop. And I'm going to stop you until you pay attention. So the first thing I'd get people to do is, for the next few days, write down how your body actually feels. Where does it feel tight? Where does it feel contracted? Where does it feel open? Does it feel like you need to move it? Your energy and your body know exactly what needs to happen. We just need to tune into it more. So when you become aware of it, it's a feeling that you're looking for. It's not a symptom. It's not a cause. It's a feeling that you're looking for.
Yeah.
And I also encourage people to start to touch their body. Like, what do your legs feel like? What do your knees feel like? Because this bit doesn't change at all. It's the bit that we put into it that actually moves it around.
Yeah.
So if we think about now, how does your body feel right now, Pete? What's going on with you?
I'm just becoming conscious of more that I'm speaking to, and my hands are a little bit cold. yeah, I can sort of feel a bit of like an adrenaline sort of pumping through my body, I suppose. Maybe if it's adrenaline, I don't know. But I did notice, I spoke to this other guy last week. He's a hypnotist and he's registered with the Heart Math Institute. So he's got this, the earpiece or the thing that hooks onto your earlobe and plugs into your laptop, and there's a program on it, and it's all about heart coherence. So he told me to meditate for 10 minutes, just normally just breathing, and you could see like it picks up when you're in your head basically. And then he told me to put my hands on my heart and think of a feeling or something that made me feel appreciative or something. And it was perfectly in line. It was, and then I've been practicing that since to get into this feeling, because 9 times out of 10, if I'm meditating, it's in here and it's gone. Whereas this was like, you could see the difference and it felt different. It felt connected to my body. Whereas the other one was just scattered. So that was a massive thing, because you could actually see it rather than, because when you meditate, sometimes you have a bad one or a good one. You don't know why. That was a really good light to shine on what was happening for me.
That's great. That's a really good example. And it's good that we have tools that can actually show us what's happening in the body. So meditation is a really good tool, but for some people that's quite challenging, especially when the energy is very heightened like it is right now. So I always get people to practice the process of grounding. Because grounding is a place that changes your brain waves and it changes your heart rates, because you start to interact with your body's natural energy with the energy that we have access to in the earth and around us. So what happens when we have a heightened energy state right now? The physical body, this is my words, it actually starts to expel excess energy. And that's why we feel like, things get a little bit shaky and we can't think properly and we bump into things and we just don't know what to do with ourselves, and the body starts to feel like it's moving too quick for us. As I said before, not all of it is your energy, but it is your energy to release. So the first step is to get rid of all of that excess energy so you can actually start to feel your own body again. We can't work out what we need to release when we've got other stuff in there. That makes sense. So if you think like our body's a container, and maybe 60% of that is stuff that's not for us, but it's the 60% that's impacting us. We've got to get rid of that first. And grounding is a really easy way to do that. And when we start to know what our body feels like when it's grounded, then we can address all the other ways that we can actually look at our energy. Because grounding,
so walking on the grass.
Yeah, it separates all the energy that's not ours out for us and leaves us with what's ours. So it helps us assimilate energy. So to ground, there's some really easy ways to do that. Put your feet in some grass. A lot of people don't like that feeling, but I actually lay in the grass. Just go and lay down, even though it's cold. Go and lay down in the grass. Put your bare feet on the soil. Get your hands in some dirt and do some gardening. So anything that's actually at physical earth, that helps take away all of that energy from our body and leaves us with what's actually ours. And what you'll feel, the difference you'll start to feel is, instead of that erratic energy, you'll start to feel that calm alignment of, I don't feel like I'm going and losing my mind. I feel like I can now make a decision. That's what grounded energy feels like.
Yeah, I'm going to the beach as well. It's pretty good.
Salt is really good, so jump in the ocean if you can. An Epsom salts bath is really good to help us to ground. Essential oils are amazing, so you can have them, breathe them in, put them on the bottom of your feet. Your lavender is great on your body to help you calm the nervous system. Got patchouli or vetiver for the bottoms of your feet to help you ground. There's lots of other ways that we can help our energy flow. Because that's actually what our energy is trying to do. It's trying to get you to help it go, I just want to be in alignment and I just want to flow, and I need you to get rid of all this other stuff that we don't need. Yeah. Then you can look at why the energy is doing what it's doing.
Yeah.
So first step, become aware of your body and that your body is physical and it has energy, and tap it and become really aware of how it feels moment to moment. What does it feel like when you brush your teeth? What does it feel like when you eat your wheat bix? What does it feel like when you go for a coffee catch up with a new client? It's like become aware of the body's changes and then start to practice grounding, which is the next level of awareness of what your body's here to do. And a grounded body is one that's calm, it's clear, it's aligned, and you then start to attract other energy that's like that. So grounding has a double-edged sword for us. It actually helps us feel better, but it helps us navigate that contracted energy of other people where we don't want to be around. They're not going to want to be around you because they want to be around drama. You want to be around calm, clear, and aligned. Then you must be calm and aligned. And grounding is the easiest way to do that.
Yeah. You touched on earlier, Maree, about the masculine and feminine energy. This is one of the most fascinating topics I have ever came across. Like, I grew up, as you know, in a family with 3 older sisters and a mother. My dad was never there. So I took on this higher sort of feminine energy. Like, and what I didn't know at the time was that masculine or feminine energy isn't anything to do with gender. It's just to do with the energy. And I think a lot of people mix that up. But I'd love to know, because I know that there's a sort of like that has evolved in itself from, you know, years ago when we learned it about it to now, and how the world is changing as well. It's there's lots happening out there, isn't there, and around this.
Absolutely. I just think about the amount of people now that talk about energy. I was walking at I live in Byron Bay, and there's a lighthouse walk here. I was walking up the lighthouse the other week behind these 2 quite young women, and their whole conversation up the track and down the track was about other people's toxic energy and how they don't want to be around them, and how this one's too masculine, and this guy this other girl was dating was too feminine. And I was chuckling to myself thinking this conversation would not have happened like this 5 years ago. And so it's really good that we're moving into this space. And so I like it, when we first learned about masculine and feminine, we learned a lot about, we were educated on what it meant. The masculine traditionally is how we describe things like logic and systems and planning. And the feminine is how we describe things like creativity, intuition, connection. And we put them in these 2 boxes that say one is, they're separated out. So one is one is the other. And in the body, they can be mapped to the left and right sides of our brain. So the right side of our brain is more creative, more feminine, and the left side of our brain is more masculine, where we think and we put logic together. But what we were told was, especially women, you're too masculine. You need to get out of your masculine and get into your feminine. And a lot of guys were told, get out of your feminine and get into your masculine. And we're all sitting there going, I can see that intellectually, but I don't know how that works together, because we weren't taught that they were actually together. We were taught that they were 2 separate things. And while that's helped us absolutely become aware of it, and it's helped us understand that, wow, I can do things differently. And, to your point, it made a lot of sense of why our relationships were the way they were, especially our parental relationships and our sibling relationships, and even the first lot of, love relationships we got into, who we attracted, because we learnt to play that role from our families. So it's not uncommon that women grew up in our lifetime being told they're too masculine, because they were raised in a very masculine household. We all were. And we were told that we were taught to compete. We go to school, everyone gets graded. We go onto sports field, everyone gets graded. And so we're conditioned to think that there is a right and a wrong, a high and a low, a good and a bad. And we've put our energy systems in that space as well. So masculine energy for women, bad. Feminine energy for men, bad. So we were looking at the negative aspects of both of them, rather than saying now, what do we do to shift that? What do we do to bring them together? And what do we do to really shift our energy, not just know about it? And to your point earlier, how lots of people are feeling the intensity of energy more these days. I believe it's because we've shifted out of that I know phase, which is what do we know about stuff? And we love knowing about stuff, and it's helped us know about stuff. And we can apply some of the stuff that we know, but at the end of the day, we just know about stuff. We're moving more into the space which I call the I feel, which is why we talk about our feelings more and why we want to know, well, why does this masculine energy make me feel so heavy as a woman? And why does my feminine energy make me feel so weak as a woman? So we're starting to uncover why this is and what we need to do differently. So does that make sense?
Yeah, total sense. Like I remember, my mom took on the masculine role in the house. But I remember like she was always tired, because she was do all the time. And I've met, women over my lifetime. They're in that masculine role of, the corporate world, maybe, want to move up the ladder, but it's do, but they're actually exhausted whenever they actually sit down. It's like jet lag nearly sometimes.
Absolutely. And it's a good point. Our mothers were traditionally raised, not all mothers, but my mother was the same, raised in that really masculine. They took care of things because we had dads that didn't quite know how to step into their space of being a responsible dad for some people. They were emotionally absent, perhaps. And that was the male of the time for a lot of people. And so we adopted the whole, as women, we need to take care of stuff because we just need to take care of stuff because there's no one else to take care of stuff. And our physical body doesn't actually work in one speed. The masculine and the feminine energy are energy sources that we have that we need to know how to work with both of them and what the true purpose of both of them is about. And it's not about putting us in a box.
Yeah, it's a fascinating topic. I could talk for hours on it. So I could.
To now, Pete, if this is relevant for you and the people that your podcast is for, is the feeling of masculine and feminine energy now is around everybody needs to shift out of their masculine into a more high vibrating feminine. And there's a real reason for that. So we see the dawn of the feminine energy everywhere, and people assume that's the dawn of the woman, but it's actually the dawn of the right side of our brain, so that we can now start to access what really means things to us, what's meaningful to us, and how we're going to express that more outwardly in the world. So energetically, we're going to change the way that we connect and communicate with people. So if we were to map energy of our general society around the globe, we would find the majority of our energy is in what's called a wounded or unresourceful masculine state. So those behaviours are we blame, we don't take responsibility, we judge, we compare, we put things into black and white. And if we just think about world politics right now, every Western country, who's sitting in their parliaments, a lot of those people would fit way down into that type of energy system. But they're a reflection of where we're at. So if we want to shift that, we need to move into the creative side to counteract it, to counterbalance it, but also to take self-responsibility on what our life is actually really about. So when we blame and we don't take responsibility and we judge, we're abdicating responsibility to everybody else. It's like when we say...
Far away.
Yeah, it's like when we say it's not my energy, I'm the sensitive one. It's all those negative people. They're the ones who are going to fix their stuff. I don't have any work to do. So the rise of the feminine is about us becoming more connected with what our energy feels like, how we want to communicate and connect, and how we really want to use our intuition and our insights to help us grow and expand. That's the basics of it. And so masculine feminine...
Sorry, can you just elaborate, Maree, on the unresourceful feminine energy compared to the resourceful feminine energy, and then back to the unresourceful masculine energy compared to the resourceful masculine energy? I think that's a good distinction and contrast for people to get, oh, okay, right, so I would actually need to maybe move into this, resourceful side, because I know that I hang out in the unresourceful side probably a lot, but it's good to know and good to let people know the difference.
Beautiful. So unresourceful feminine energy is when we become the victim. When we look at the world and we say, something's been taken from me and I feel helpless and powerless to do anything about it. I'm going to sit in the victim, the martyr. I'm going to be jealous. And when I can look at things and compare them, I feel bad about myself. That's the unresourceful feminine. And sometimes
that's happened a lot with women on, like, whenever they compare it, like on Instagram primarily, you see women and they're always comparing themselves unresourcefully to other women who, you know, these pictures are filtered, you know, to the max, and it's like crazy. But that's like been a big thing in the whole world of social media.
Absolutely. So in our unresourceful states, we compare both in the feminine and the masculine. But with the feminine, we take it inwards. Our feminine energy is a receiving energy. So when the victim is the whole one who goes, well, oh, poor me. We take a situation and we take it in and we say, this is happening to me. That's what happens when we're in the unresourceful feminine. The resourceful feminine is when we say, I have insights to help me grow and share. I know what my worth is. I trust. I understand, I nurture myself, I communicate and I connect, and I have wisdom that I tap into. And our intuition is actually how we connect with most of that. So the feeling of it is one of, I know who I am and I am here to expand myself, not be taken back by what anyone else does around me. That's the difference of those two feelings.
Right.
Whereas in the unresourceful masculine, that's where we have the behaviours where we lash out. So masculine is a giving energy, and anything that we push out from us is an unresourceful masculine. So blame, not my fault, I don't take responsibility. Yeah, but you did this, judging, put things into black and white circles. And then when we compare to oppress other people. So we compare to say, yeah, but my work's better than your work, and therefore I'm more elevated than you. We use comparison as a weapon, and we make to make ourselves feel better by putting it out to put other people down. So in an old, the Tony Robbins model, it's significance. How do we get significance? By taking it from somebody else. That's what we do in the unresourceful masculine. In the resourceful masculine, we are very decisive, and we can take what we think creatively, and we have a plan of how it comes into play. So masculine in its actual resourceful state, in its divine state, is the physical manifestation of what it is that we think about and imagine. So we do actually see the how things come together from our masculine state. But the more important thing about our divine masculine is it is where we hold space for our own genius and amazingness, and how we hold space for other people. And this is the true nature of what I call discern, where we're actually able to discern energy, not judge energy and make a judgment call, but discern it. So the divine masculine is that place of power and steadiness. And we don't have a lot of that in our society or community at all. And it's not led by our traditional types of leadership that we see. And actually, what we see is the opposite. It's a low contracted energy that's all about self and not about holding space for anybody. It's about that grabby energy that says, I want more significance. No, it's about me. I had the bigger crowd. No, I did this. No, my polls are better. Like, it's all about self. And that's how we don't actually hold space for anybody, not even ourselves, in those states. So we think about the two types of energy systems. Unresourceful means that it actually doesn't help us, it contracts us. And in a divine state, it expands us.
Awesome. Fascinating topic. Maree, I could talk to you all day about lots of stuff. Is there anything else that you would like to share?
Well, because the energy has been so intense, and we all put our two hands up saying, yes, I've been angry and frustrated, I put together a guide for people about how to work through your energy during Mars retrograde. And it's a way that you understand what's your energy. As I say, it's not all of your energy, but it is your energy to release. What Mars is actually here to do. So Mars, as we said at the beginning, is about anger, frustration, and unresourceful thinking around self. It'll bring up the past, it'll bring up past patterns and behaviours and relationships, and it's very, very, it can feel very disempowering to us. So I put this guide together called Why So Angry, and you can grab that at my website, so mareeeddings.com/why-so-angry.
Yep.
And it's a gift to you to say, well, there are things that you can do. Please don't just bunker down and think that we'll just wait for this to go over. This is a really important time for us to learn more about our energy and learn more about ourselves. As I say, when you know your energy, you've actually got your head start of everybody else, and you then know the energy dance. You start to lead that dance, and you start to lead your life through your energy.
Brilliant. Awesome. Thanks so much. I'm going to download that straight away. So Maree, I want to thank you again for your time today. It's, as I say, I could talk to you for hours on end, and hopefully you'll not be getting any SOS text from me over the next few days. But over the next few days, you mentioned the shit's going to hit the fan again. Is that right?
So Mars has gone back into retrograde today, 1st of August, and Mercury's also in retrograde as well. So those things that they stir up, and there are 5 other planets in retrograde, but they're always in retrograde. So there's a lot going on cosmically, which even though you might not be into planets and you might not be into all of that stuff and moons, that's actually why things feel so heightened right now, and why everybody feels heightened, because we can all go through our own stuff where our energy gets heightened for other reasons. But right now it's the cosmos and the universe going, here you go. I want you to deal with all of this stuff because I want you to release it and not take this with you anymore. It's like we want you to empty the backpack. We want you to get rid of all of the old patterns and conditioning so you're nice and light and you can move forward into new directions.
Cool. Well, I look forward to this week being over then. Where can people find you, Maree? So you've got your website, mareeeddings.com. So mareeeddings.com.
That's correct.
And where else are you on? Facebook, Instagram?
Instagram's where you'll find me. So at Maree Eddings is my Instagram handle. I hang out a lot on Instagram. So any questions, please feel free to put them on my posts on Instagram. I'm happy to answer them.
Awesome. So thanks again for your time, Maree. Love you lots, and I will speak to you soon.
Thanks very much.
All right. See you, Maree. Bye-bye.
Bye.